So I have a confession. I've never read the Hunger Games trilogy. I think I read the first book many years ago, but I never finished the whole trilogy. And yet, for some reason, I just read Sunrise on the Reaping, the prequel story that tells how Haymitch became Katniss's mentor. Hi, my name is Jonathan, and this is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. In a complete twist of fate, I just read one of the prequel stories in The Hunger Games. And the reason this is odd is because I don't typically read young adult books, and I certainly don't read many dystopian literature books, even though my wife swears Star Wars is dystopian. But that's for another conversation. So, how did I end up reading Sunrise on the Reaping? I wanted a bookmark on Goodreads. I saw the book as a way to get an imaginary bookmark reward on that website, so I picked it up and I read it. Now, before we go any further, please like this video, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I recently crossed the 250 subscriber threshold and would love to hit 500 subscribers before my school year ends in June. I made a promise to my students at the beginning of the year that if we hit 500, I would give them a party. So if you could help me out, that would be great. Now, here's a short synopsis of the story of Sunrise on the Reaping. The book's been out for a little while now, but I'm going to try to keep it spoiler-free if at all possible. But just in case I do slip up and share something, you've been warned. So here's the story. It's time for the 50th Hunger Games, called a quarter quell. And during the quarter quell, each of the 12 districts have to send 2 boys and 2 girls instead of the traditional 1 boy and 1 girl to compete. So there's a total of 48 victims. It also happens to be Haymitch's birthday. All he wants to do for his birthday is spend time with his girlfriend Lenore Dove and his family. But through a terrible series of events, Haymitch finds himself forced to be a tribute from District 12. So he, a boy named Wyatt, a girl named Maisalie, who is from one of the rich families, they own the candy store, this typically doesn't happen to them, and a young girl named Luella, who's like Haymitch's younger sister. They're dragged away from their families and their homes, and they're sent to the capital to die in a very gruesome manner for the entertainment of the capital citizens and their sadistic leader, President Snow. Now, on the first night when all of the tributes are being brought out, there's a tragedy, and as a result, Haymitch finds himself the enemy of President Snow. It also turns out that there are more allies than he could have imagined, and there's a possibility of striking a blow against the Hunger Games, but only if Haymitch can survive long enough to pull off the plan. So I want to say, first off, this book is extremely fast-paced and exciting. I really couldn't put it down. For a book with such a horrific premise, the action really moves. Suzanne Collins is a fantastic writer. And for a book where you already know the outcome, especially if you've read the books or seen the movies, you are really pulling for Haymitch. And even though you know he's going to be the one to survive, there are some really tense moments and some close calls. There are also some characters I was hoping were going to make it through. Spoiler alert, they don't. But this book also deals with a lot with propaganda and how images and news can be manipulated to tell the story that those in power want to tell, even if it's not anywhere close to the truth. Now, without getting political, that idea is even more relevant today than it's been in the past. And events in the games are twisted to portray characters in certain ways, even if their actions were much more heroic or sinister than what was portrayed. The Capitol had a narrative to tell, and no rascal from District 12 was going to keep that story from being told. Sunrise on the Reaping was also extremely sad and very dark. There are characters in there that die in horrific ways, And their deaths are even more devastating when you understand who those characters represent. There were very few moments of joy or happiness, as might be expected. That being said, though, there were moments where some of the characters showed real moments of sacrifice and were willing to risk their own deaths if it meant saving the life of someone else. We see that a lot with Haymitch. Now, in a recent video that you can find on my channel, I ranked Sunrise on the Reaping as one of the 5 hardest books I've ever read. And I'll link that video up at the top of the screen here and in the description. It was hard because there is so little hope in the book. Haymitch suffers, and then he suffers, and before it's all over, he suffers even more. Right? It's so difficult to read and watch the utter destruction of such a good person and see the toll that this event, being in the Hunger Games, took on him. So the question is, should you read Sunrise on the Reaping? I'm going to say absolutely, but I think, especially in my case, it would be a better experience if you have some understanding of the Hunger Games. There are so many characters and Easter eggs in this book. Characters like Mags, Effie, Beatty, and Plutarch, among others, all make appearances. Now, I said at the beginning that I've only seen the movies, and my wife tells me that I'd appreciate it even more if I had read the books. So, who knows? Maybe this will encourage me to go back and read those. Oh, and I'm not going to say much more, but one of the most horrendous parts for me was Lulu. If you know, you know. Sunrise on the Reaping. Have you read it, and what are your thoughts? If you haven't read it, do you plan to, especially since there's a movie coming out? Leave all of your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. Additionally, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers. So please, if you aren't already subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you are, please like the video and share it so that others might have the opportunity to be a part of this conversation. Now, if you'd like to see the 5 hardest books that I've read, click on the video that's going to pop up here somewhere here in just a minute, and that'll take you over there to that video as well. And as always, my name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time.